Have you ever had one of those mornings where you wake up feeling off? Not quite sick, but not quite yourself either? Maybe your joints ache a little more than usual. You move slower. You forget where you put your glasses, again. And you wonder, is this just what getting older feels like? You're not alone. A lot of folks in their 60s and 70s have those thoughts. Maybe you've even said it out loud. I just want to make it to 80 and still feel like myself. But here's the thing. Getting older doesn't mean giving up. It doesn't mean fading away. It means getting smarter about how we live so we can keep living well. Today, I want to talk to you like I would a good friend over coffee. We're going to talk about why so many seniors struggle to reach 80, not to scare you, but to empower you, because there are reasons behind it. And more importantly, there are solutions. Things you can start doing right now that might just give you more years. And better ones at that. Now, I'm not just talking about eating your veggies and getting your steps in, though those do matter. I'm talking about the real-life habits, mindsets, and little traps we fall into as we age. The ones we don't always notice until they're already holding us back. And once we start seeing them for what they are, that's when things can start to change. Let's start with something most people don't realize until it's too late. The trap of slowing down too much, too early. I get it. You retire, the grandkids grow up. You don't have to set the alarm clock anymore. It feels nice at first, peaceful. But after a while, that stillness turns into something else. You start moving less, socializing less, challenging your brain less. And before long, you find yourself sitting more than you're standing, sleeping more than you're laughing, watching more than you're doing. The body notices, the brain notices too. It's not about staying busy for the sake of being busy. It's about staying engaged. The human body, especially as it gets older, needs motion, purpose, and stimulation like it needs air and water. When we stop using our muscles and minds, they start to shrink. It's not just a saying, use it or lose it, is biologically true. That doesn't mean running marathons or solving puzzles all day. It means keeping your life full of things that move you physically and emotionally. Maybe it's gardening, dancing, walking to the store instead of driving, reading a good book, or better yet, discussing that book with a friend. It could even be learning something new. Yes, even after 70, especially after 70. One woman I met last year decided to take up painting at 72. She'd never touched a canvas before in her life. Now she paints every morning with her coffee. Not because she's trying to be the next Picasso, but because it brings her joy, gets her up in the morning, and keeps her hands and mind sharp. That's the kind of engagement we all need. But let's talk about another major factor, one that's harder to see and even harder to talk about: loneliness. It's a quiet killer, and I say that with love, because I know how easy it is to slip into. Friends move away, loved ones pass on, families get busy. You stop driving at night. Social events feel more tiring than fun. Before long, the days get quieter. And not in a peaceful way. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's a condition. It affects your heart, your immune system, even your memory. Studies show that chronic loneliness can shorten your life as much as smoking. Can you believe that? It's just as dangerous. And yet, it's one of the easiest things to ignore, especially when you're used to being independent. You might say, "Oh, I'm fine, I like my own company." And that may be true up to a point. But humans are wired for connection. Even a short conversation, a smile from a neighbor, a phone call with an old friend. Those little moments matter more than we realize. If you're feeling isolated, the answer doesn't have to be grand. You don't need to throw a party. Start small. Join a local walking group. Call that friend you've been meaning to catch up with. Even volunteering just once a week can work wonders. Not only does it give you purpose, it connects you with others who care. Speaking of connection, there's one more subtle but powerful issue I want to bring up before we move on. And that's the trap of routine without reflection. Now, don't get me wrong, routine is great. It brings structure, comfort, and rhythm to your day. But here's the catch. If you're doing the same things every day, in the same order, with the same foods, the same habits, the same conversations, or worse, no conversations, it can start to dull your spark without you even noticing. Life becomes a loop, not a journey. That's when people start to lose their sense of time, their sense of adventure, their sense of self. It's so important, especially in your 60s, 70s, and beyond, to break your own patterns once in a while, even in small ways. Take a different walking path, try a new recipe, visit a new place, even if it's just the park across town. Shake things up. Let your brain get curious again. That curiosity keeps you young, truly young. I spoke to a gentleman last fall. He's 81 years old and goes somewhere new once a month. Sometimes it's a concert, sometimes a community class, sometimes just a different coffee shop. He told me, I want to keep surprising myself. And you know what? He looked 10 years younger than he is. That's no coincidence. So if you're watching this right now, wondering how you can live not just longer but better, start by asking yourself this: when was the last time I truly did something new? Something that made me smile, think, or even stumble a bit. Because that, my friend, is how you stay alive, really alive, no matter what your birth certificate says. Now let's keep going, because there's more to uncover. We've just scratched the surface. You see, once we start recognizing those little traps, slowing down too much, letting loneliness sneak in, getting stuck in stale routines, we can start taking steps toward something better. But there's another factor that's just as important, and it's one many people don't like to talk about: how we deal with stress. Now, I know what you might be thinking. At my age, what do I have to be stressed about? I'm retired. The kids are grown. And sure, maybe you don't have the same kind of daily pressures you did when you were raising a family or working full-time. But stress doesn't retire just because you do. It just changes faces. Sometimes it's the worry about health problems or managing medications. Sometimes it's feeling left out of a fast-changing world. Sometimes it's financial concerns. And sometimes it's the simple weight of wondering, what comes next? The problem is, when we don't recognize and manage these stresses, they don't just sit quietly in the background. They creep into our bodies, slow our healing, raise our blood pressure, mess with our sleep, and even shrink our brains over time. Chronic stress actually accelerates aging at the cellular level. It's like carrying a hidden load everywhere you go. But here's the good news. Dealing with stress doesn't have to mean hours of meditation or expensive therapies. It can start with something as simple as breathing. Deep, intentional breathing, just a few minutes a day, can reset your nervous system, lower your heart rate, and even help clear your mind. Taking slow breaths in through your nose, holding for a few seconds, and then breathing out longer than you breathed in. It sounds simple, but it's powerful. Even more powerful when paired with gratitude. Every morning when you wake up, try this. Before reaching for your phone or getting out of bed, name 3 things you're grateful for, big or small. The sunlight through the window, a friend who called yesterday, the fact that you woke up at all. Gratitude rewires the brain to focus less on fear and more on hope. And hope, my friend, is a fuel that keeps you moving forward. Managing stress also means setting boundaries. You don't have to take on everyone else's problems. You don't have to say yes to everything. Protect your peace. Guard it like a treasure, because it is. And while we're talking about peace and energy, there's another thing that often holds seniors back from reaching 80 and beyond: neglecting small health issues until they become big ones. You know how it goes. A little ache in the hip, a nagging cough, a mole that looks a little different. It's easy to brush it off. It's probably nothing. It'll go away. I don't want to bother the doctor. But small things don't always stay small. Especially as we get older, early detection is everything. A tiny problem caught early can be easy to fix. A tiny problem ignored can turn into a mountain. I knew a man, sweet as can be, who started having trouble swallowing. Just little things at first. He figured it was just part of aging. By the time he saw a doctor, It had turned into something far more serious. If he'd spoken up earlier, there would have been so many more options for him. So don't be shy. If something feels wrong, if something feels different, talk to someone. See a doctor. Get the checkup. You're not being a bother. You're being smart. You're being your own advocate. And that could add precious years to your life. Listening to your body isn't just about looking for danger signs either. It's about paying attention to what it needs day to day. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you drinking enough water? Are you moving your body in a way that feels good? These small daily choices build up over time like drops of water filling a well. They matter more than you realize. And speaking of daily choices, there's another huge, often overlooked factor: nutrition. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you to count every calorie or give up every treat. Life's too short not to enjoy a good slice of pie now and then. But here's the thing: our bodies change after 60. We don't process sugar, fat, or even certain vitamins the way we used to. What worked at 40 doesn't always work at 70. Malnutrition in seniors isn't just about not eating enough. Sometimes it's eating plenty, but not getting the right kinds of nutrients. You might be full, but still missing key things your body needs to repair itself, keep your heart strong, and fight off disease. Simple tweaks can make a big difference. Adding a little more protein to your meals, eating more colorful fruits and vegetables, cutting back just a little on processed foods, drinking water throughout the day, even when you're not thirsty, because believe it or not, by the time you feel thirsty, you're already dehydrated. One woman I know started adding a small handful of nuts to her diet every day. Almonds, walnuts, that sort of thing. Within a few months, her energy improved, her skin looked better, and her doctor said her heart health had improved too, just from one small, easy habit. Taking care of yourself isn't about depriving yourself. It's about nourishing yourself. Treating your body like it's something precious. Because it is. When you feed your body the right way, manage your stress, stay connected, stay engaged, you're not just adding years to your life. You're adding life to your years. And that's what really matters. When we start making those little changes, choosing to move a little more, breathe a little deeper, connect a little stronger, and nourish a little smarter, we're not just surviving, we're thriving. And that's the real goal, isn't it? Not just to reach 80 or beyond, but to get there feeling alive, vibrant, and proud of the life we're living. But there's one last piece of the puzzle we need to talk about. It's a quiet influence that shapes everything else we've mentioned so far. It's not what you eat, how you move, or even how much you socialize. It's what's happening right between your ears, your mindset. The way you think about aging matters more than almost anything else. If you believe that getting older means decline, sickness, loneliness, and weakness, guess what? Your body tends to follow that script. It starts to expect breakdown instead of growth. It starts to accept every new ache as permanent, every slip of memory as inevitable, every bad day as normal. But if you believe that getting older is simply another stage of life, with its own lessons, its own joys, and its own adventures, then you stay open. You stay hopeful. You stay young at heart. And being young at heart keeps you young in body, too. I'm not saying it's easy. The world doesn't always make it easy. Sometimes the loudest voices tell us that after a certain age, we're supposed to step aside, slow down, give up. But you and I know better. Aging isn't about fading away. It's about shining differently, maybe even more brightly than ever before. One of the most inspiring people I've ever met was a woman named Rose. At 85 years old, she still volunteered twice a week, took a watercolor class every Saturday, and hosted family dinners every Sunday. When I asked her what her secret was, she smiled and said, "I never stopped thinking of myself as a beginner." Think about that for a second. How powerful is that? Always a beginner. Always learning, trying, laughing, messing up sometimes, but moving forward with curiosity and wonder. That kind of mindset doesn't just happen. It's a choice. Every day you wake up, you get to choose what kind of day you'll have. You get to choose what story you're telling yourself about your body, your life, and your future. Choosing a positive, hopeful mindset doesn't mean ignoring reality. It doesn't mean pretending that there aren't hard days. It means deciding that you're bigger than your circumstances. It means noticing the small joys, celebrating the small victories, and believing that good things are still ahead. And if there's one thing I hope you take from this conversation today, it's this. You have so much more power over your future than you think. More years, more laughter, more purpose. They're not out of reach. They're not reserved for lucky people. They are built one small, deliberate, loving choice at a time. So if today you're feeling a little stiff, a little lonely, a little stuck, start small. Take a slow walk outside. Call someone just to say hi. Pick up a book that makes you curious. Try a recipe you've never made before. Drink a glass of water with a smile, knowing you're doing something good for yourself. Small steps, taken consistently, lead to incredible places. And please, remember this. You're needed. You're valued. You're a living, breathing story that is still being written. Someone out there needs your wisdom, your kindness, your laughter. The world is better because you're still in it. If you ever doubt that, come back to this video and let me remind you. Now, before we wrap up, I want to encourage you to share your thoughts in the comments. Have you discovered a habit that's helped you feel younger and stronger? Is there something you've started doing recently that's made a big difference in how you feel? I would love to hear your stories, and I know others watching would too. You never know who you might inspire just by sharing your journey. If you found this conversation helpful today, please consider giving the video a like and subscribing to the channel. We're building a community here of people who believe that life after 60, 70, and even 80 can be full of energy, purpose, and joy. And I'd be honored to have you along for the journey. Here's to living fully, loving deeply, and embracing every day we're given. No matter what the calendar says, today is a beautiful day to be alive. Let's make the most of it, together. And hey, if you enjoyed this conversation, there's so much more waiting for you. Check out some of our other videos where we dive deeper into simple ways to stay healthy, energized, and joyful at any age. Remember, it's never too late to start a new chapter. You're stronger than you think, and your best days can still be ahead. Thanks for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourself. You deserve it. See you in the next one.